Hi, we're going to learn a little bit about transposing some formulas. So first off, we got the basic power formula, P equals I times E. Now if we want to solve for E, we can just divide both sides by I, which will isolate E on its own because I cancels this I out. We end up with P over I equals E. We can also use this formula to solve for current. So we'll start out with P equals I times E. We'll divide each side by E. These two E's over on this side will cancel each other out. We'll end up with P over E equals I. So now we can find current if we have the power rating of an object and its voltage. We can apply this concept to Ohm's law as well, which is E equals I times R. If we divide each side by I, we can cancel out the I's on this side of the equation. We'll end up with E over I equals R, so voltage divided by current equals resistance. We can also use E equals I times R or divide each side by R. We end up with E over R, voltage over resistance equals current. The other thing we're going to run into is sometimes we have to combine the two formulas together. So if we have P equals I times E and E equals I times R, we can then take our power formula, P equals I times E. Well, we know that E equals I times R, so we can just fill in the I times R in place of the E in the original formula, and we end up with P equals I times R, I times R, which is the same as P equals I squared times R. We can also take P equals I times E. We know that I equals E over R, which we found earlier. We can put the E over R in place of the I in our original formula. So we end up with P equals E over R times E, which is the same as E over 1. And we just multiply top times top, bottom times bottom, and we end up with P equals E squared over R. Now, the other thing that we sometimes run into is we will have to transpose these equations back the other way. So we're going to go back here to that formula that we found a minute ago, P equals I squared times R. Now, what if we need to find I? Well, we know we can divide each side by R to isolate the I squared, so we'll end up with P over R equals I squared. But we want I, not I squared. So to find that, we'll take the square root of both sides, which will give us the square root of P over R equals I. Now with those formulas and those concepts, you should be able to carry on and fill in the rest of your Pyre wheel just by transposing the equations, the power in the Ohm's law equation, and then combining them as needed.